Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are regulars here, today I'm joining in very late to the party, a tarot tag which shares favorite trump cards. And today I am beginning with the Fool, and I have a lot of wonderful cards as well as a very old book to share with you. And I'm not going to read from the book today, but I just want to share this little treasure that one of my daughters found in a thrift store. This book was first published in 1935 in the UK, and this particular edition is from Carleton University. So when I look at the back of the book, it was in the Carleton University Library, and this is from 1930. No, sorry. I got to read my Roman numerals. 1968, from 1968. And this particular book is a discourse on the many reflections on the archetype of the Fool. And I have read many of these pages and yet to quite finish the conclusion. But there are some really interesting bits in here about stories from court life back around the time of the tarot, the time that we're talking about in some of the older decks. And I'm really excited to go on and finish this book, and so I will speak more to this when I am doing the Fool card in my Marseille series, which broadcasts Saturdays at noon. Okay, so yeah, very exciting. So I have chosen, I'm going to just talk a little bit about these historical decks, and then I'm going to hop into, I chose 11 contemporary favorite Fool cards, from which I will share 5 with you. Good morning to Arya and Saskia and Lydiane, and I know it is not likely morning where some of you are, so whatever time of day, warmest of blessings. The decks that are on the table here, this is one of the versions. I believe this is Yves Renault's Viavi Tarot, Jacques Viavi. And this is one of my favorite Marseille's or Marseille-like decks. This is the Gassman Tarot on the left. And on the right is the oldest deck that I have, which is a Bolognese Tarot. And it is called Torre della Fine. And later on I will update below and put links to all of these cards. What I was horrified with in reading this book was the way that what the Fool was in culture of old. And this book was fantastic. It goes back, it talks about 4th century in China, it talks about long time ago in Egypt, the journey of the Fool through the centuries, and then to the time of around the Visconti Forza deck in Italy. And so it's a wealth of resource. But what I have picked up is that for the most part, the Fool was someone who could not fit into society. And there is one group of fools there was physically or mentally something wrong with them. They were either extremely fat or they had a deformity in some way. In Egypt, one of the chapters goes on about dwarfism and how dwarfs were gathered and used as fools for the rich, of course, for their entertainment. And as I was reading through this book, I'm really starting to reflect on how in the world did the fool become the wanderer? How in the world did the fool become this archetype that we know presently in the tarot, one of adventure and wanderlust and independence and a sense of let's just let everything go. What have I got to lose kind of energy? And so I started to think about this, and I wonder, and this isn't just my own musings, about fools who possibly escaped their capture by the rich. And this kind of story really appeals to me when I think about, and this entertainer looks quite well, doesn't look too, he looks more like a talented entertainer rather than someone who has something physically wrong with them. And so I was thinking about that, and I was going through the Gassman, and I'm thinking, this is the Le Pendu, the Hanged Man card. And then I started wondering, wow, what if the fool who escaped away from the wealthy was captured and hung? And this is the fool. The fool was sacrificed. And that's just an own personal, like, wow, kind of horrific story. And then I want to fast forward to the Marielle Tarot. Okay, this is skipping many a century. And I know that these are very challenging cards for some people in this deck. And this may be the first card and the 78th card. It may be the 77th and the 78th card. And I know Marie White has pondered different positions for the Fool in the tarot. But in both of these cards, we see someone who has broken free of society, free of expectations, and doesn't care to engage in the expectations of the masses, of the popular. And there's something here that feels like another layer to explore. And I will continue to ponder this as I prepare. I'm a long ways away from the Fool card because it's the last card that I'm going to do in my Marseille Major series. But yeah. And I'm going to back up the camera just a little bit so I can share with you these 11 contemporary cards. I also want to say to you that it's very hard for me to talk and change cameras at the same time. Sorry. I wanted to say for you that I'm going to likely broadcast every morning. I've got a long way to catch up here. This is the Fool from the Lux Prognia Tarot. This is the stunning tarot. Lily Black. Sasarai Bito. Good morning, Patrice. Victorian Fairy Tarot. Sun and Moon. John Bauer. This is the Lo Scarabeo manga tarot. And this is Beautiful Rebellion. And this is the Fountain. And one more. One more. And I will very briefly speak to each of these cards. This is from the Architect's Tarot. And this card is, I had to include this card. I just thought this was such a brilliant way to portray the Fool. And this will not be my top 5, but this is the creator himself or themselves in the process of making this deck. And the planetary association is Uranus here. There are planetary associations in this deck. In creating a tarot deck, it is really a long journey of headaches, and it takes one committed soul, but also the willingness to believe in oneself. And I wonder, with all I said about those historical decks, if that idea of the fool escaping the court, the fool escaping and running away from society is, I wonder if there were even communities that protected the deformed or the mentally ill. I'm so passionate about this. And then it's really interesting because if you think about the character that was in Game of Thrones, I wonder if there was an underlying message here, historical reference. I think about in the Outlander series, when the dwarf baby was born and the response to that. And I wonder how long ago and where and when parents who gave birth to deformed children, it must have been terrifying, absolutely terrifying, to be in that sort of situation. And so I can imagine young adult children escaping and running away to find a community, to find a place of safety. So my idea of the Fool is one of letting go and freedom. And my best Fool story, I've shared a few times on my channel, was in Bali, different places in Asia where I traveled alone as a young woman in my early 20s. And the most extraordinary things happened to me because I journeyed alone. And I think there's something here about being brave enough to journey alone, that we will open windows and opportunities will present themselves. And of course, there is great danger in the world today, even back, when I was traveling. Yet, there is a sense of protection, I believe, around the devotion to this kind of energy. And when I look at the beautiful Rebellion Tarot, which is not a deck, this is by Robin Cole, that I have out very often, I wonder, in a way, if it is the child on the left that is considering leaving, and the figure on the child on the right, and it is the figure on the left who is counseling the child in how to begin their adventure, and why indeed it might be a wonderful thing to leave home. This card from the manga tarot, which I don't ever see on YouTube, the figure is the clothes are tattered. They're walking away. This is the only sepia or black and white card in the deck. And as they walk away, flowers are growing behind them. And there's something here that really appeals to me. It shows an energy, a frequency of the power of this archetype. And I think a lot of times we don't honor this archetype enough. It does take a very brave soul to wander in this way. In the John Bauer Tarot, we see something similar. Reminds me sort of a Peter Pan kind of image. And I just think it's one of the most beautiful cards. A lot of the cards in this deck are very dark and hard to see, and this one is clear and in focus. And maybe that says something, that it's clear and in focus compared to the other cards, that this is mentally, emotionally, I know exactly what I'm doing, and that's that I'm not staying. I'm not staying with things the way they are. I pulled out and by the way, I went through every single deck in my large library for this series, and it was with such great pleasure that I leafed through all of the cards in this deck. This is the Sun and the Los Scarabeo Sun and Moon deck. I love all of the cards here, and this is kind of a funny one, but again, it has that sort of Peter Pan energy that nothing's going to conquer me, and any kind of beast will eventually become my friend. And yeah, they might consume me, but this is life. This is life, and this is one of the risks that I am willing to take. And in the Stunning Tarot, when I look at this, I see an island. I see a person who has, it may be very close to the shore, it may not. There may be a boat out of the picture. But I see a person who has chosen isolation. And this could very well be a Four of Cups card. And sometimes we just need that space. We need that isolation. And I think this is really a powerful Fool card. The Lux Prognia Tarot. I love the gesture of the hands and the gaze towards the full moon. Just that sense of trust and awe and magic and wonder. I do have an affinity for both of these decks, but there's something about the Lily Black. There are a few cards in the Lily Black that really pop because of being black, and this is one of them. And I think about this tree that grows off the cliff, and despite gravity, despite the I think about the length of the roots that are required to sustain a tree like this to grow off the side of a cliff, and the effort required to source water and to be so healthy and strong and magical. And there's something really kind of poignant about this energy as well. There's a few decks that have a card where you see an older person as the Fool. And I think this is one of those messages of young at heart. Always be young at heart. Always be open and be willing to let in something new. And I just think this is kind of invigorating. I'm sure you've all seen memes on Facebook and various places where there's perhaps an older woman walking down the street, and maybe she is hunched over and has a cane, and yet her shadow is one of a young dancing girl on the wall beside her. You know, we don't always feel how we look. I think this is a much underrated deck. This is the Fountain Tarot. And again, we have a sense of freedom and carefreeness and a lightness. It's almost as if I were, maybe this is on Uranus, you know. There's let's just be free and dance. And I remember another situation where I saw a parent somebody that I knew coming out of school. This was a long time ago when my kids were in elementary school. And it was a rainy day, and I was sitting in my car waiting for the kids to come out, and she was exiting from the school, walking towards me, and it was raining, and she didn't put up an umbrella. Instead, she just put her face up to the rain and felt the rain on her face, and I thought, wow, how beautiful to have that perspective. And that was really something. And in the Victorian Fairy Tarot, this is the only card that has a human. And this person can actually see the fairies and is following the fairies. And I think this says something. That says something about seeing the magic and allowing magic in one's life. And it would be, I don't, what doesn't appeal to me here is the idea of trying to catch the fairy rather than just being in wonder that fairies are. I just think, and the lighting in this card is so beautiful. So very beautiful. Okay. So you know what I'm going to do? I think this is going to be quite easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to choose these as my top 5. So interesting just to sort of walk my way through that. And this was not pre-decided in any way. So again, on the bottom, left to right, the red card is from the Stunning Tarot. And in the middle, this is trimmed. This is a Lo Scarabeo deck called Manga Tarot. And on the right, this is the beautiful Rebellion Tarot by Robin Cole. This is Lily Black by Celia Mailsville, the one with the tree. And this is the Lux Prognia Tarot. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for being here, and I will be back tomorrow with my favorite magician cards. Thanks. Take good care. Namaste.